Ichigo awakens by Talacha in Chapter 54, Attacks in Darkness, Squad 15 base, Urahara Shoten. It was late, Nation was mulling over the information he had at the moment. The Kusumioji family was in a difficult situation that may end in bloodshed. 2. Someone within the family, likely a high-ranking member, was manufacturing dangerous and illegal weapons. 3. The heir to the family was brought to the world of living with the intention of hiding under their noses, a plan that came crashing down. 4. He was going to kill Kenryu with that stick up his ass if he kept annoying him. Captain Nishin, the smaller of the two guards, and the aptly named Kenryu said, "I know I mustn't bother, but I must insist on better accommodations for Lady Rurichio." The larger Inryu nodded in agreement, moving his hands about frantically. Surely a captain and a noble such as yourself understands the importance of. For the last time, Kenryu, Ishin growled out, "Shut up and let them play ball," he yelled while pointing to Rurichu, dressed in blue shorts and a white t-shirt, and kicking a ball around with Yuzu and Karin, laughing the whole time. "To you, she's a princess. To the squad and myself, she's just a little girl. Let her enjoy herself a little bit. If you're worried about her protection, remember this: she is in the most secured area in the world of living to anything spiritual. My fourth seat has orders to not let anyone without clearance go near them." Suddenly, Ryuichi tripped and fell, prompting Inryu to freak out and rush outside, and was sent flying back in when Chad punched him. "Like that? How do we not have clearance to be by her side?" the attendant demanded as a Garganta opened in the room. Kenryu immediately got ready to attack when Ichigo finally came through. "Because I don't want you anywhere near my daughters," the captain said, shoving the attendant aside to give his son his full attention. How's things in society, Ichigo? Other than seeing how poorly prepared the society is in the event of an invasion, Ruki and the siblings seem to be doing rather well. Ichigo answered, just now noticing the two new figures in the barracks. "New recruits? New mess," the father responded before pointing to the three girls. "The new kid is Rurichio, Kasumijo, the heir to the Kasumiji family, a noble family just under our own in rank because they once supplied the people with weapons before the Gotai formed and Sanpakuto became the weapons of choice. They were thanked with noble status, but none of the responsibilities of the great noble houses. Just playing the noble game, so long as they keep a lid on something dangerous they control." "And they screwed up?" Ichigo asked, sensing where the conversation was heading. "No, or not yet at least," Ishin responded, sensing Kenryu's growing anxiety at how much the Gotai knew. We only got speculation and guesses, the most probable being that someone high up in the family is trying to take it over. His name is Yugaku Kumioi," Kenryu said, giving the Soul Reapers what they wanted and needed, knowing it was their best chance. Lady Richiyo's mother died, giving birth to her while Ines took her father soon after. Kumi has been serving as the temporary advisor for the clan until Lady Richiyo came of age. Lately, vassals under his service, mainly people that seem to disagree with him, have begun to disappear. Anyone that doesn't fall in line with his ruling is soon disposed of, and weird incidents have begun to happen around Lady Richiyo. Using what few people we could trust. We had Gigais made and planted for us to retrieve when we came to hide in the world of living." He released a sigh as the weight of the past few days seemed to appear on his shoulders. "We had no evidence to prove these suspicions, so we wanted to avoid involving the Gotai. Avoid it by going into the most active squad's territory, where some of the most observant Soul Reapers are supposed to be," Ichigo restated, needing to understand what was going through this guy's head, hoping to slip by in the confusion of us doing our jobs. "You passed through the private Senkaimon of the Kasumiyaji because of the old soul phones, because of the old soul phones couldn't get any data from private Senkaimon, didn't you?" The attendant nodded to the captain's question. "Tough luck there, and security measures had to become stricter, so now nothing spiritual occurs without our knowing. So now, what do you do about this little coup of yours?" Ishin leaned back to think. He needed someone that could protect Richiyo when worst came to worst, while also maintaining her calm and not arousing suspicion. His nose caught the scent of fresh cookies as he looked idly towards the kitchen where Orihime made a fresh batch and was sharing it with Rurichiyo, Karen, and Yuzu. An idea popped into his head at that moment. "Hey, Orihime," he called, getting the exorcist's attention. "How about you and Ichigo become parents?" He suggested, knowing his son was about to beat his skull in. Safe house, temporary living quarters for the Kasumiyoji. The next day came, and Ichigo was helping Kenryu and Enryu move his new family into the new home. After punching his father enough times to get rid of his embarrassment, Ichigo explained the reasoning for this. It was to give Ruichiyo a more proper disguise while keeping a healer and bodyguard around her at all times. A last line of defense. Ruichiyo was supposed to remain ignorant of the going on, so the explanation of the family cover was to help her integrate into the living world much easier. Ishin promised sentries around the clock, and Ichigo would also have to fight when truly necessary. Ichigo forgot his father could be mature sometimes, and he ruined the moment with, "Besides, it'd be good for you to get ready for all the future grandkids." Chad had to carry the old man back to his house after Ichigo was done with him. "And you promise this will stay under wraps?" Kenryu asked, his concern being in keeping the Kasumoji family stable and strong. "If word of this got out, it'd put the whole family at risk with the other nobles. I shouldn't ask much, but..." "Listen, pal, I don't give a damn about this nobility game you seem to think matters," Ichigo growled out, finally getting the sofa in place. "The only thing we care about is keeping her safe and the security of society as a whole. You worry about nobility crap if it worries you that much." Kenryu had to hold himself back from talking back, reminding himself that Ichigo is of nobility with the Shiba and the return as a great noble house, as well as being a lieutenant and disciple of the head captain in the Gotai. He heard tales of Ichigo's prowess and crass behavior, but he needed to realize it, to really see, to understand, and while he had yet to really see his strength, his crude behavior was the genuine article. Not too long after, Rurichiyo appeared with Orihime not far behind him. "Oni-chan," Rurichiyo sang out, running to Ichigo and galloping him. After the decision to have Ichigo and Orihime pose as her parents, her gigai was altered to have orange hair and lighter brown eyes. Ichigo looked down to the girl hugging him with slight confusion. "Context. I need context, please," the hybrid said, looking at his lover and ignoring the crying attendants in the corner. "Well, Rurichiyo told me that while she understood that it was for her protection, she refuses to think of us as her parents," Orihime explained with a smile as she looked at the young noble. "So I told her to think of us as her older siblings, if that helped." Ichigo looked down at the kid who was still hugging him before adopting a genuine smile and patting her head. "So, after school tomorrow, we're going to the mall," Orihime announced, with Ichigo simply accepting he wasn't spending enough time with Orihime or Tatsuki lately. Later that night, Uryu sat on the edge of a roof, quite a ways from the safe house, but still with a near perfect vantage point to be a sniper. He was back in his white Quincy robes after a general consensus. He looked to be better in white and ready to keep a first watch. There was some goofing around with the new family, but it seemed like Ichigo was actually enjoying himself. Horihime was almost always happy, and the kid seemed to like the arrangement herself. Hours passed with little incident as the trio found themselves asleep. That was when he felt it. "It feels like one guy," said Riruka as she joined Uryu's side. The Fullbringers were becoming eager to test their new abilities, so they were assisting, and Riruka pulled the short straw. "What's the plan?" "I'll engage you while you watch and record," Uryu said, standing up and tensing to move. The second red flashes that appeared on the barrier. The second he starts to run, seal him up in one of your dolls." He ignored her whining about it being uncute as the ceiling broke through. The archer immediately shot several shots at the attacker and forcing him back. The Quincy took the chance to make it to the roof with with his Hirin-hyaku and attacked with Selen Schneider. The assassin wore dark concealing clothes with reddish pink armor and wielding a blade mounted on his wrist with an old mirror in the center of the guard. He was immediately cautious of whatever properties the mirror might have held. Some instinct telling him that part was the main issue. I'm guessing it'd be pointless to ask who your masters are, he said, only getting the assassin to raise his blade for combat. Never that easy. The assassin charged at him, intent on cutting through the Quincy, and Uryu simply evaded. Every swing was met with a dodge as the archer gracefully moved, keeping his eye on the weapon he suspected was a koto. His attacker backed off when he saw his attempt were proving fruitless and took a change of tactics. He caught the moon's light in the mirror on the guard and reflected directly to Uryu's face. Everything seemed to go black until he returned to consciousness. With the assailant directly in front of him, he managed to dodge the stab and chop the guy in the throat and back of his neck, making the assailant stumble. I've been knocked out enough times to know that sensation. Uryu thought as he analyzed what happened as his opponent caught his breath. Since that thing was a mirror, he probably needs light to make it work and reflect a specific light wavelength to make someone temporarily black out. Uryu straightened himself out and stretched his back before shutting his eyes. Not risking another glance, I'll let the squad 12 squints do the study, utilizing his years of blind archery training and Reishi Sensei. He tracked the movements of the assassin as he tried the light reflection method again. Uryu became dizzy as a result of the light shining into his face, but with his eyes shut, the effect was weakened greatly. The assassin charged again, and Uryu leaped into action, using his blue to power his defense and strength as he grabbed the blade and tore the whole thing off his opponent before punching him in the stomach. The assassin collapsed, barely conscious, and Riluka showed up behind him. Addiction shot, she said, shooting him in the back with a heart and placing her tag on him. I permit you. The Forebringer pulled out a teddy bear, and in an aura of pink energy, the assassin was absorbed into the doll. Now what? The girl asked the Quincy who held up the weapon. Now we get this to Urahara and see what he can find out, he said, feeling the weapon react as if it was alive. Since he won't talk, take him to Tsukishima. That'll be the easiest way to get an answer out of him. Roger that, Uryu. What the? Rurika said as she felt something warm and wet soaking her doll. Gross, she cried as a red liquid was spreading through the fabric. Uryu's eyes widened as he recognized the blood, with his mind working overtime to figure out what was happening. Keto seal? No, I'd sense that. Hidden dagger? He wouldn't be able to use that. Did he? Shit, he thought as he figured out what the assassin did. Get him out. He bit off his own tongue. He ordered as Ruruka took a second to get over her shock and use her hair to tickle her nose before sneezing on the doll. The assassin came out, blood dripping through his face mask and onto the ground as the sound of breathing could be heard. He's making himself drown in his own blood, he said in shock as he approached the dying man. Who was doing everything in his own power to keep Uryu back. Soon the assassin passed out from blood loss and fell off the roof. Uryu felt the man disappear as his life faded, and he cursed him. A dead body couldn't give any answers that they needed, especially if Kumoi was being as careful as they thought he was. A failure, I take it, Ruruka asked, trying to keep her lunch down. Uryu glared at the dead body that lay on the ground. He wondered if this was how Ichigo felt when Aizen managed to escape him, because Uryu felt pissed. Partially, he answered as he felt the attendants settle down, and some of his squad mates came for the corpse before it burst into flame. A very well hidden Kido dead man switch to eliminate all traces of the assassin. We protected the girl. Now they'll be sending the big guns, and we don't have something from all this. He looked at the blade in his hand with disgust before heading back to the base. Chad coming over to take his shift. Squad 15 base. After his capture, he killed himself, Ishin said, finishing his report to the leader of the Gotai. Yamamoto stroked his beard in thought, contemplating the next course of action to take. Without the assassin to interrogate, they wouldn't get a confession. Kibuno was becoming much more cautious around his squad, and the only thing they found on Amaki was that he joined the Anbitsukido at a young age. He cursed the lackadaisical lifestyle that put them in in such an unprepared state and thought he could force an investigation of the Kusumaji grounds. He refused to become a full tyrant as he had centuries ago. Continue protecting young Rurichiyo, Yamamoto finally responded. I have full faith in your squad's abilities to keep her safe. Sooner or later, Komoji's side will slip up, and then we'll end this. The connection was cut as Ishin looked back to the Bakato behind its sealed displayed box. The weapon was indeed confirmed to be alive when he tried to attach to Rin until one of his squad forced it down. That and the creepy yellow eye that was looking at everyone and gave it away. The squad 12 member was supposed to return to his division with the weapon along with an armed escort. And they would get Hiyori back. She claimed that they can spar with each other now to strengthen their mask, and she missed her job. Mostly her snacks and sitting on her butt. The biggest threat so far is the hidden ability Abakoto might have. Uryu said, speaking up from behind his captain. Similar to secret trump cards some Pakutos may have for the wielders. The obvious solution there is to stop them from using those abilities by defeating them quickly. Ishin plotted. The problem there is that they'll kill themselves quickly. And Tsukishima can't extract memories from corpses, but he can't do so while they are distracted. They heard what they heard Setfulbringer say as he came back. I got back from Uruhara and he agreed that there's an 85% chance of success with an idea about Ichigo on this Kusumaji matter. One cut is all I need, he said with a sinister smile. Man, that guy's creepy, the two officers thought. With Rurichiyo, the sound of yelling and muffled combat roused the young noble girl from her slumber. The young girl rubbed the sleep from her eyes as she looked at her current situation. She was used to waking up alone, Inryu and Kenryu nearby to offer any comfort they could. Now her attendants were gone and she was between a beautiful older woman and a handsome man. For a second they looked like a picture of her parents and were around the Kusumaji house before her eyes adjusted and she recognized her new bodyguards. Remembering her parents were gone brought up some old pains she tried to hide as her eyes began to water. Bad memories, she heard Orihime ask tiredly as the exorcist pulled the noble in for a hug. There, I'm here, Ruri-chan, Orihime said before softly humming while stroking the girl's hair. What is this warmth? She asked herself as Ichigo's arms reached over both of them, cocooning her in their embrace. Is this what it would have been like with my parents? She listened to Orihime humming her lullaby, her eyes growing heavy with every note. It feels nice, she thought just before sleep claimed her. Kusumaji's secret compound. So, she's already under Squad 15's protection. An elderly man spoke in a gravelly tone. This was Gyokaku Kumyo, wrinkly and weathered with his grey hair and a bushy top knot. And the agent you sent was felted by that Squad 3rd seat. His name is Uryu Ishida, the Quincy. The man across from him stated. He was dressed in dark concealed clothes with layered plate armor on his left shoulder, purple hair and a scar from his hair to cover over his right eye. He was captured by one of the Fullbringers, but he successfully ended his life before he could be interrupted. He interrogated him. This is abrogating, but also fortuitous, Komui said with a dark smile on his face. Our new partners made it clear that they are very interested in seeing a certain lieutenant in that squad disappear. 2 birds with 1 stone. But if even half of the rumors concerning him is true, then it will be a hard-fought battle. The assassin spoke. No chances. It'll have to be a full assault. You have your improved Bakato. Do whatever it takes to kill that freak and the brat. The viceroy ordered, earning a nod from his subordinates. Understood, sir. Illustrated Guide to Soul Reapers. Poor Ren. Haven't slept in days. Ren moaned out as he worked. Never got to have any of those world living sweets. Just watching the screens with the pile of candies waiting in that corner. He shouted as he remembered Lisa attacking him with the riding crop when he got too close. But it'll be worth it. And Captain Nishin promised me that the jawbreaker thing if I fix up these crappy excuses for porky guys, he said, sparing a glance as the ball of sugar he finished the final the final steps in the Kusumaji Klansky guys. He never moved so fast in his life as he tore off the wrappings and watched the multicolored ball as if it was a holy relic. He slowly brought it to his life, a mouth drooling and eyes watering. How about you and Ichigo become parents? Rin's eyes bulged out of his skull. He was barely paying attention, but he knew he now had more work. Lisa was already in the corner with her disciplined stick. End of chapter 54. Ichigo awakens by Talachi, chapter 55, Kidnapped Princesses. With Ichigo. A few hours after the first attack was when Hiyori finally returned and Rin left. Why the kid was crying as he ran through the Senkemon, he wasn't sure, but he felt like he should blame Lisa. It was also good that Urahara was a fast and efficient worker. Rin was able to fix and modify Kikai, but he didn't have the material to make them. That's one thing he regretted not asking for when he took his station. And here you go, Damasa, Hiyori said as she revealed Ichigo and Orihime's new disguised Kikais. The only distinction, the difference was that they were older looking versions of themselves with different hairstyles. Ichigo's still his messy, spiky look, but it was longer, like he went a couple months without a haircut, and Orihime's was shortened to a ponytail with a bob cut. Now they can pass for adults. I know this wouldn't fool the neighbors, but Karakura's a big place, and we're only trying to fool people that don't know them, Ishin said, feeling like this was a mistake somewhere, but not sure where. Someone deliver these to Ichigo and Orihime, he ordered as one of his squad members saluted and took the bodies. Now to wait for those assassins to try again, he said as he spared a glance to Tsukishima. We'll end this soon enough. At the safe house. That was so much fun. The young princess cheered as she sat down at the table. She was enrolled in a nearby middle school. Urahara being some kind of miracle worker with plenty of connections still around. With a constant watch of her attendance. The excuse there was pretty much the truth in that she was sheltered and they were her attendants to make sure nothing bad happened. The school system simply accepted it when the principal gave the okay, and then his creepy insistence that it was okay. After classes let out, she was picked up by Ichigo and Orihime, who were both in their disguised Kikais and earning the attention of all the students there solely on the looks. Feeling a small bit of jealousy, she actually ran to them yelling Mom and Dad. Afterwards, they kept the word and went to the mall, going into various stores and spending a little time in the arcade. The world of living is filled with so much wonder. You're lucky to be here, she said to her two false parents, with Kenryu and Ryu crying tears of joy. It truly is a wonderful world, Orihime said as she passed out the curry with dinner she made. Now eat up while it's hot. Rurikichiyo quickly gave thanks and took a big spoonful of the rice and curry. Wow, this is delicious, she said with elation. This is the best meal I've ever had. I can relax and enjoy it. So much better than those stuffy aristocratic dinners. Kenryu looked like he wanted to protest to Rurichiyo's actions, but stayed his voice as she continued to enjoy her meal until she stopped when she noticed something she didn't like. Richiyo, is everything okay? Orihime asked, prompting the princess to scoop up a slice of carrot. I do not like these, she answered, looking down at the vegetable on her spoon. That's too bad, Ichigo said, not sternly, but not too gently either. Eat everything on your plate, Richiyo. It's rude to everyone that worked hard to make that meal, from the farmers that grew those vegetables all the way to Orihime who cooked it. This earned a look of surprise when for the girl he was protecting. Farmers grow all of these. Orihime or Ichigo could only look at the young girl, at the young soul in surprise. Yeah, and it takes a lot of work to grow even a single plant, he told her before turning his glare to the two attendants who started sweating under his gaze. What have you two been telling her? Oh, well, we didn't want to. Kenryu stammered while Ryu started singing like crazy. Don't bother, Ichigo. Richiyo spoke out, tired but also hurt. They never tell me the whole truth about anything. Everyone looked at her with surprise and guilt. In the case of Katsumijiyo attendants, I may not have ever given any thought as to where my food comes from, but I am not a fool. I know that the Katsumijiyo don't warrant a full-time protection of the Lieutenant Class Soul Reaper, but you're still here, so it must be something terrible. She looked at the two with tear-filled eyes as she demanded answers. Why do you two still try to keep me in the dark? She was soon pulled into a warm and enveloped hug by Orihime. There, Richan, she said, stroking the girl's hair smoothly. How about you and I go out for ice cream and we can talk? Does that sound good? Rurichio slowly felt herself cling toward him as she slowly nodded. The exorcist smiled and took the girl by the hand as she guided the princess outside to get them both some ice cream. Ichigo, would you mind having a chat with Kenryu and Enryu? She suggested before leaving. The two attendants were torn between being devastated that they hurt their charge so much, and utterly terrified as Ichigo sported a malicious grin. With Orihime, I know they mean well, but I'm tired of being treated like a child. Richiyo said, idly licking her frozen treat while talking about her trouble to Orihime as she sat in her lap. She never thought about anything because she was never told about anything. If she knew about how much effort and care went into anything in her life, she wouldn't have been so selfish. Now they were lying to her about her safety. The lieutenant's protection was normal for a noble like herself, but even she'd heard about the hybrid that brought the change to the soul society. I know what that is like, Richio, she said with a nostalgic and sad smile. When I was younger, all I had was my older brother. We were in a terrible situation with our parents, and he took me away from them for the first chance he had. From there, he was my version of your attendance. We didn't have the same luxuries that you've enjoyed, but he made sure I was happy with what I had. Eventually, I was tired of him treating me like a child, and I yelled at him when he gave me these hairpins. Later that same day, he was in a terrible accident. Richio turned to look at her protector as the thought of losing Enryu and Kenryu passed through her mind. I was never more scared in my life, terrified that I would lose my brother, and the last thing he would remember of me was that I yelled at him, all because he wanted to see me happy. I never thought of it that way, the princess said as she looked down at her ice cream and thought about the happy memories she had with her two attendants. You're important to them, Richio. You just need to remember that they care for you, the exorcist said with a caring smile. As for why they're protecting you, bygone, as she started before immediately calling out one of her shields and blocking an attack from another dark-clothed man. He had a regular katana blade, but Orihime was more concerned with the large cloth wrapped paddle-shaped thing on his back. Word of our squad protecting you should have reached these people, she said with an edge to her voice. I'm guessing they need to be reminded on why it's a bad decision to attack Squad 15. She flicked her wrist and the shield pushed against the assassin, sending him back several feet. Orihime! Uruchio cried out as the sixth seat set her aside and strode out confidently to her attacker. Please be careful, she whispered before she was trapped in a triangle pyramid of Orihime's shield barrier. Don't worry, Ruichio, she said as her Kenten cushion and blade appeared. We've got this. The assassin threw away his sword to reveal the thing on his back, the large guandao spear with buzzsaw teeth on the top of the blade. What was odd about it was the short handle with a large bent portion at the end. Orihime watched in disgust as the thing spat out a fleshy tentacle with several smaller tentacles, and the assassin plunged his hand directly into the monstrosity, becoming one with the blade. That was gross, Tsubaki said to no one in particular. The assassin slammed the blade into the ground and sent a torrent of green energy at her. Orihime took a deep breath, swung her reflection blade, and managed to send the energy back to the assassin, just as the energy solidified into stone. I'll be honest, I'm surprised we could do that, Orihime said, blinking in surprise. The power wave broke through the stone wall it created with twice its original force and mixed with debris to become a shrapnel-filled wave of pain. As the attack returned to the assassin, Orihime felt sick to her stomach as she heard the pained cries of her attacker. The dust slowly settled as Orihime saw the mangled and bloody wreckage of the assassin. Behind her, she heard Ruichio gag and puke as she felt her own stomach turn at the sight. Hollows were one thing. This was not what she ever wanted. Ishin and Tatsuki soon arrived at the scene. Tatsuki froze while Ishin went to the healer. What happened? He asked, not harshly but demanding. He was gentle in trying to help Orihime get herself back together, lest she break up. I reflected his attack back to him, and she said numbly as she tried to process what happened. Ishin, I didn't. She went silent as Ishin pulled her in for a hug. Breathe, Orihime. In and out. I'm right here. He instructed, guiding her to calm down and gather her wits. You did your job, Orihime. You kept Ryuichiro safe. It's going to be okay. Maybe I can still heal him, Orihime said, knowing she was grasping at straws. Ishin was going to say something when Juno and Ayame showed up at the mistress's side. You can definitely do that. Ayame told her, making Orihime look hopeful while Ishin was gobsmacked. Our barriers never really healed per se, Orihime. Juno continued for her fellow spirit. We just rejected the damage. We're the flower petals of rejection. Reject attacks, enemy, and events was part of our title for the contract. If you wanted, you could reject someone's entire existence. So as long as there's remains, you can even reverse death. She finished with a smile while everyone was looking at the spirits in shock and awe. We haven't met anyone that had that kind of heart and will, though. Want to be the first? It took her a second to shake herself out of her shock, but Orihime sprinting towards the corpse with the others close behind her. Shuno Ayame, Shoten Kishin. She knelt by the body and called out to both spirits, making them split into twos to double the healing effect as she got to the assassin just as keto flames began to erupt on his body. Just as progress was being made, an explosion of smoke engulfed the four and blinded them after a few seconds to shake off the surprise. Ishin waved his arm and dispersed the smoke cloud with a gust of wind. Is everyone okay? He asked, taking a quick scan of the group. I'm fine, Pops. Tasky said, coughing out some last bits of smoke. I'm fine as well, Ryuichiro said as she opened her eyes. When she did, she saw the same thing that froze Ishin and Tatsuki. The assassin's body had burned to ash and Orihime was gone. Said it, I told you to retrieve the princess, the head assassin under Kumoi said to his subordinate. Orihime lay unconscious between them. Her disguise had her with orange hair, so I would be forgiven in this circumstance, considering there were two girls with orange hair. Not so much with how you mixed up a child with a teenager. They were in an abandoned field on the Kusumahachi grounds, but still private property outside the Gotai's range. My apologies, Lord Hanza, the kidnapper told his superior. However, it seems like the rumors of her odd abilities were also true. She was actually resurrecting the last assassin that attacked them. Hanza took a moment to dissect this information. I'm going to be lenient since we can use this girl to deal with that Kurosaki boy, the scared assassin said, an idea forming in his mind. But if what you say is true, then you just brought us an invaluable test subject for our Bakato. Lord Kumai will be pleased with this then. The unnamed assassin sighed in relief. Just then a crushing pressure suddenly appeared. The air was forced from the lungs and the air felt more solid than before. The two were suffocated as they tried to process what was happening. They were looking around until Hansa froze. They're standing in the sky with burning black wings and swirling dark rays. She was the truest image of a Shinigami that the assassin had ever seen in his life. The assassin fled for his life, feeling a sense of fear he had long since buried climb its way back up and made him run as far from that reaper standing in the sky. The other one was frozen, stuck in place after seeing that piercing golden stare. Almost instantly, that reaper was standing just a few feet away from him. He instantly recognized this being as the hybrid that Kumai's benefactors wanted dead, Ichigo Kurosaki. The boy's face was impassive, but the energy he was unleashing was anything but stoic, and his black and gold eyes promised only death. The assassin dropped to his knees as his vision became hazy, cloudy as the hybrid walked towards him. No, please, he choked out as he tried to move out of the way of the hybrid. Ichigo ignored the man as he suppressed his reiatsu upon reaching Orihime's unconscious form. He gently lifted the girl in a bridal carry, taking care to make sure she was still alive and smiling upon confirming of such. He began walking away again, a garganta opening before him as the kidnapper took his chance to run. He took one step before a black box engulfed him. Hado 90, Kurohitsugi, Ichigo said as he left the Soul Society. The keto faded as an unrecognizable mass of flesh remained before burning away. Center 46 chambers. That boy needs punishment. One of the judges yelled at Yamamoto. He is your student, yet he lacks discipline. Invading private property, causing undue panic against the populace. We knew he was going to be trouble. Another of the sages said he cannot be allowed to roam free, even as a member of the Gotai. Told me members of Central 46, Genryusai started. Are any of you fully aware of the circumstances that led to Ichigo Kurosaki's actions? Yes. A member of his squad was found on the Kusumaji grounds. Where is the so-called kidnapper? Another judge asked. Without evidence, the boy is facing criminal charges. That boy has done more for society than this office ever has. Yamamoto spoke, anger burning in his tone. And currently, there is an investigation on numerous assassination attempts on the Kusumaji heiress. Several eyewitness accounts and memory recordings provide someone is after the young princess's life, and that lets that child do whatever he pleases. He trespasses on a private. He was interrupted with a loud crack as Yamamoto fractured the ground once again and brought the weight of his Reiatsu down on the ground. His squad member was kidnapped. She was found unconscious with two mysterious figures on the Kusumaji grounds. Ruruchiyo Kusumaji had given him permission to enter her lands, of which we have a recording. My student had done nothing wrong, he yelled, increasing the pressure in the room. He knows he is not above the law. I know that I am not above. I know that I am not above the law. No one is above the law. Something the nobility seems to have forgotten. Your duty is to study and keep the law. If you are incapable of doing that, then I will. He growled at the judges, turning and leaving while the 46 shook in terror. The only man that they could have influenced to keep the hybrid in line had just made it clear that he was on his student's side. The Central 46 began to question just how strong their authority really was now. Illustrated Guide to Soul Reapers, Ishin's note. Ichigo no Hime got the new bodies for their disguise and did a quick look over of the new bodies. Older Ichigo looks hot. Orihime moaned, looking at Ichigo examining his fox body. Double Ichigo, take a cold shower, Orihime, Ichigo said, and trying to avoid looking at Orihime's kikai and thinking similar thoughts. Just then he noticed a note conveniently placed on his groin like a sensor bar. He pulled it off of himself and read what it said. Do not think about the bedroom fun with these. You have a child now. Wait until she's deeply asleep or at a friend's place. That's how you got your sisters. Soon to be Grandpa Ishin. I'm pretty sure I'm going to actually kill him this time. End of chapter 55.